We begin in the quiet, dark waiting of a garden. Under immense, crushing psychological stress, the human body can undergo a rare condition where the capillaries burst. As Jesus knelt in Gethsemane, the pressure was so severe that he began sweating drops of blood. He knew exactly what the next few hours would bring: the nails, the public mocking, the sheer physical terror of execution. Yet he knelt there, processing that reality, and consciously decided to stay. Most ancient stories of heroes start with a display of strength or a massive triumph. This narrative begins with a man on his knees, trembling in the dark, overwhelmed with grief. Surrender in that garden reveals a power that bypasses the instinct to escape. It shows that the deepest love is found in choosing the hardest path for the sake of another. You might be carrying something heavy right now, a fear that keeps you awake, an unhealed wound, or a grief that you don't even have a name for yet. It is easy to imagine a creator looking down at human struggle from a comfortable, distant throne. But the prophet Isaiah described Jesus very differently, as someone deeply familiar with pain. He didn't avoid human suffering. He wept outside the tomb of a friend. He reached out and touched outcasts that society had completely discarded, and he felt the sting of betrayal from an intimate friend. The pain you feel today is not a foreign concept to him. Whatever brokenness you are navigating, the creator of the universe has already walked through that exact valley. You are never walking through it alone. That willingness to endure the worst of human experience culminated on a hill, a crown of thorns woven in severe mockery, the public humiliation of the crowd, and the slow, suffocating reality of a Roman cross. And from that position, bleeding and entirely abandoned, his very first words were a prayer. He asked God to forgive the active executioners who were driving the nails. Forgiving the very people driving the nails subverts the cycle of revenge. This response requires a strength that outlasts the violence inflicted upon him. Our natural instinct is to keep score. When we are hurt, we hold grudges, build walls, and prioritize our own self-protection above all else. We demand an apology before we even consider letting a grievance go. The cross redefines the standard. It proves that real love is offered unconditionally, reaching its highest peak precisely when it costs the giver everything. After the execution came Friday night, and then the long silence of Saturday. The disciples were scattered, hiding in rooms, swallowed by guilt and a profound sense of hopelessness. You might know exactly what that waiting feels like, that painful season where a medical diagnosis is hanging in the air, a marriage feels broken, or a child is wayward, and God seems entirely silent. But that long silence finally broke on Sunday morning. When they arrived at the tomb, the stone had been moved. Inside, the grave clothes weren't ripped away in a panic. They were neatly folded, a quiet signal of absolute, deliberate control over death. In his very first moments of a resurrected life, Jesus didn't go to the authorities. He found Mary Magdalene, a woman weeping in a garden, entirely confused, and he simply called her by her name. Hope lives as a light within the shadows. It stands as a grace that meets humanity before they have found their footing or made themselves worthy. The Apostle Paul understood this unearned grace better than anyone. He spent his early life violently persecuting Christians. Yet, carrying all that immense guilt, he wrote a letter to the Romans that became a definitive record of how mercy operates. He systematically lists the boundaries of this grace. He writes that neither life nor death, angels nor demons, nor any powers in the present or the future can ever separate a person from the love of Christ. That impenetrable shield applies to your internal life, right now. No hidden secret you are carrying, no profound failure in your past, and no period of ruined faith places you out of reach. God's love does not operate on a sliding scale based on your daily performance. It is a permanent condition, secured entirely on the cross, and completely immune to human failure. Before all of this happened, Jesus gave his followers one singular, defining command. He told them to love one another exactly the way he had loved them. In practice, that means moving toward the mess, deliberately stepping into the pain and brokenness of the people around you, rather than turning away because it makes you uncomfortable. It challenges you to break cycles of bitterness, to extend forgiveness to the difficult people in your life, loving them even when it is wildly inconvenient or when they don't seem to deserve it. From the quiet of a manger to the sweat of a midnight garden, through a Roman execution and into the triumph of an empty tomb, you are fully seen, entirely known, and unconditionally loved, a reality sustained by his character, regardless of your performance.